Hi, Katie. Hi, everyone. Okay, so a bunch of people have hopped on now. I'm so late to starting this, and I'm so sorry. I've been working on something that's coming out tomorrow that I've sort of talked about in my stories, but I'm sharing it here officially. Tomorrow, I am launching my Uncatechized Catholic email list, and I was putting the finishing touches on this free guide that I'm giving out to everybody who subscribes. It's how to start your catechetical journey, just stuff that took me years and years to put together. I put it down in a list, and when you sign up for my email, you'll get the list right in your inbox. And I was working so hard on it that I completely lost track of time. My husband actually came in and was like, "Are you gonna go live?" So thank him for reminding me. And hi to everyone. I'm gonna lean forward and scroll up on some of this stuff to see what everybody said. Hello to everyone. Thank you for loving the videos and for the smiles. Happy Friday. Happy Lent. What did you guys eat today? I had a Wendy's fish sandwich because it's the superior fish sandwich to McDonald's, and you can't tell me any differently. Ooh, also drinking way too hot coffee because your girl needs to focus. I don't know if you guys know, but I have ADHD, and between all the babies and all the breastfeeding and just my own personal convictions, I don't medicate for it. But coffee is a stimulant, and so I basically just drink coffee all day, and all night, so that I can focus on everything I do. Ramen noodles. I had ramen noodles for lunch, actually, for the first time in over a year. I found pork ramen noodles at the store. I was like, I can't resist. That's my favorite. Fish and coleslaw. You know how you eat coleslaw? The best way to do it is you take your plate and you hold it over the trash can and you just with the coleslaw right in the trash. Mangled shrimp stir fry. That, honestly, it still sounds good. When it's all together in a dish, you can't really mess it up, you know what I mean? Homemade fish sandwich is superior because then you don't get those nasty seed oils. I just love a good crispy fish fillet sandwich, you know what I mean? It's so good. Shrimp quesadillas are delicious. Tuscan shrimp and fettuccine. Fun fact, I thought I hated fettuccine Alfredo for years. I mean, as a child, I guess I did hate it because I tried it and was not a fan. But I tried it again recently, and I think it was shrimp fettuccine, and delicious. You guys are giving me good ideas for all of Lent because your girl will take any excuse to go out and get some fish sandwiches, but I should really be making more of these meals. Pancakes for supper. I love breakfast for dinner. Egg and cheese bagel, grilled salmon. I love salmon. I eat salmon multiple times a week. I buy this big thing of, it's essentially ready to eat salmon from the butcher area at my grocery store. And I usually just cut off a hunk of it and then cut up an avocado and eat it. It's delicious. Yeah, I know all of this is making me hungry. The last time I went live on here, it was essentially an Ask Me Anything situation, and I'm still, hi John, I'm still open to Ask Me Anything if you want to talk about catechesis, style, whatever. I homeschool, all of that stuff. I get lots of messages about things on here that I don't post about because the feed and the rules of Instagram are pretty solid about what goes over well and what doesn't go over well. So I gotta play by the rules of the game to a certain extent. So I wind up just messaging about a lot of this stuff. But then this gives us the opportunity to talk about it for real. Coffee with sugar or without sugar. I have the worst sweet tooth in the whole wide world. So this coffee is actually no sugar. It's just black coffee with a little bit of butter and a sprinkle of cinnamon and also a sprinkle of salt. And then I have one of those, I don't know what you call it, the frothing stick things where you press the button and it just spins really fast. And I blend it all in there. It makes the butter melt a lot faster. And it's really good. It makes the top of your coffee look yellow, which is new. But I think I'm also going to try putting cacao powder. Is that how you say that? I'm going to try putting that in there too and see if it's delicious or not. Oh, and milk. I do a splash of milk in my coffee because I like milk. But when it's when I'm not trying to avoid the sugar, I like to do milk and honey or milk and maple syrup. Delicious. How many prayer intentions can you pile onto a rosary? The limit does not exist, okay? I try to just say a rosary, period, like just say one. And then if I want to add an intention or 13, then I'll say another rosary for that. But I like a lot just letting Mama Mary decide what to do with at least one rosary a day. And I also am a multitasker. The one rosary a day that I say every day, period, I say while I do oil pulling. I oil pull at night. So I put the coconut oil in my mouth, and then I will sit and I will, with a rosary in my hand, pray the rosary. And that's usually the one that I give to Mary. But I also pray the rosary while I'm driving, while I'm getting ready in the morning, while I'm putting away laundry. And for those, I usually put on a video and follow along with the video. Otherwise, my decades turn into 13 or 8 or 11 Hail Marys. So it's just better to have that somebody else keeping track of where we're at in the rosary for me. And then also ADHD, working with my hands, helps me to meditate more on the mysteries, because it takes away the desire to like let my mind wander or do something else, because I already have to kind of focus the background process on something else. So it works for me. If you're going to confession for the first time in a long time, do you have to confess everything at once, or can you split it up? So you do have to confess it all at once. If you intentionally withhold a sin from confession, the confession is especially non-efficacious. It doesn't work. You need to confess everything at once. So maybe you sit down at multiple separate times, or you keep a note in your phone, and every time you think that's something I should confess when I go to confession, do that. Also, if you feel that movement of the Holy Spirit that's like, go now, don't not go just because you don't have a list, because at the end of the day, it's the intentional withholding of past sins that hurts you. And so if you're going for the first time in a long time, do your best to confess everything. But once you're pretty sure you've gotten it all out, whether it's because you prepared with this list or you just obeyed the nudge of the Holy Spirit to go, it's all done. If you think of a sin later and you're like, oh, I didn't confess that, it's okay, because you would have confessed it, right? God knows that, so it's forgiven. Keto coffee. Am I drinking keto coffee? Is that what this is? I don't know. I never did keto. Oh, thank you for the blessings. Where can I get a rosary? Where can't you get a rosary? They're everywhere. There's a bunch of rosaries at my church. Just there's like a basket of them that say free rosaries blessed. Take one, so you can get one from there. There's also multiple shops online. I wish I could remember the name of the one that I just got a rosary from, because it was really beautiful. Maybe I'll remember it. I'll go look it up. I can't, it's on my phone, so I can't do it right now. But I'll look it up afterward and I'll post a picture. It's a really, really beautiful rosary. It's got a cameo on it, and it's gorgeous. And then I'll post the shop and stuff like that. But all over Etsy, I totally recommend looking on Etsy, because those people are people and not random conglomerates. There's a child shoving a pencil under the door right now, distracting me. But they're also, generally speaking, Catholic shops. The only thing that you have to kind of be aware of and pay attention to, especially if you're doing Amazon or something, is that some people will do insane things, like etch really tiny pentagrams into parts of the rosary. I wish it weren't something that I have to say, but it's true. I know of somebody who works for a church who ordered something like 600 rosaries, and they had to burn all 600 rosaries because the priest watched by them and was like, this is not right, and he picked it up, and you could totally see this bad stuff on there. So I recommend you go to your church, or to, like, here in Arizona, we have Mary Immaculate Books and Gifts. It's a store, physical store. You can go to the physical store and do it, or just look for a smaller person who makes these rosaries. Rugged Rosaries. I bought multiple rosaries from Rugged Rosaries. One of my favorite rosaries is from there. They're fantastic. lots of options for you. Who's the best saint to pray for neurological disorders? Probably Saint Dymphna. I would just Google patron saint of neurological disorders, but I know that Saint Dymphna is the patron saint for, I don't know how to phrase it, difficult psychological issues. I don't know. Saint Jude also comes to mind as the patron saint of impossible causes. Not that all neurological disorders are impossible causes, but neurological disorders are difficult, way easier to treat other things. So the more power you can get to your cause, the better. Also, St. Jude's arm is on tour. So if you just Google St. Jude arm tour, you can see where he's at. I think he's mostly in like the northeastern, the colonies, part right now. But I think the idea is to slowly bring his arm across the country, and you can check to see when he's in your area or where he's at next. It's painfully slow for me as somebody who's out in the West because I check it at least once a week, and it's like he's still in New Jersey. He's going to so many parishes in all these different states. So even if he already came and went from your exact area, there's a really good chance that he's close enough nearby that you can go and see him still. Get some miracles, get some blessings, get some items that you maybe, I don't know if you can touch stuff to him. I was going to say you can make relics, second class, third class relics, but very new. Are children welcome at Mass? Of course, children are welcome at Mass. If your church isn't crying, it's dying. Bring the babies to Mass. Don't leave just because they make a tiny noise. Don't get mad at them just because they make a tiny noise. They're supposed to be there. They're supposed to be noisy. Jesus said, let the children come to me. If you're truly a wreck, a lot of parishes have cry rooms, but I am super pro keep your kids in Mass. It takes a lot for me to remove my kids from Mass because, first of all, I don't want it to seem like a punishment to have to go to Mass. And second of all, sometimes removing them isn't even a punishment, it's a reward. Sometimes they don't want to be sitting in there and being told to be quiet. Sometimes they want to get out because they think they get more permission to run around and be insane. So bring your kids. Stay in Mass. If anyone gives you dirty looks, that's the other thing. If anyone gives you dirty looks or makes terrible comments, that's a them problem, not a you problem. I know, especially us women, we're really tempted to cry when someone says something mean about our children. But if it's a parish-wide issue, then you have a community problem and a priest problem. You need to let your priest know that he needs to get these people in check. And if he doesn't, leave and go to a different parish. I used to go to one. I moved house and I didn't stay with that parish because I was over it. The current parish that we're at is super pro family. And so on the very rare occasion that anybody says anything negative, there's usually a whole host of people around them who are like, no, it's okay. So don't worry, truly. 100% or 1000%, Jesus says, bring his children to him. Yeah. Oh man, lots of people joined, but not a lot. Okay, here we go. Also, I think some people should be reminded that the sacrament of confession is for the forgiveness of got cut off. I don't see where you continued, but I'm going to assume it's for the forgiveness of sins. Yes, it is. Refuge Rosaries, another Catholic mama-owned shop, and that's tagged from Katie at Kerygma Candle Co. If you see that in the comments, if you were here before she commented it, you can scroll up and see it. But it's at Refuge Rosaries. You can also get a really gorgeous rosary holder from Kerygma Candle Co. You should go look it up. It's so cute. The nuns at my church make rosary for sale. Yeah, a lot of nuns do. There's a parish near here where there are some sisters who make beeswax candles, and they're 75 cents. I have them on my altar actually now. There's a reel I posted where I'm lighting the candles. It's those. They were 75 cents. Like, what a steal. I love sister ministry things. And then, at my church too, there's a rosary making group. And so that's where the rosaries at our church come from, is the group just makes them, and then they go into the basket or they get donated elsewhere, what have you. Johnny Franks, hello. Who else almost downed a piece of meat today but remembered? I didn't almost down it, but I did see some spicy beef jerky in my pantry and lamented that it was Friday. If the church isn't crying, it's dying. Amen. My Tia is here. Hi, Tia. Let's see. Are we talking about kids in church? We were talking about kids in church. I assume you popped on right when that happened. Do you veil in church? So no, I don't. But that's because I find veiling extremely distracting. I veiled for a while, years back. I had this veil that, I don't know, it was like triangular. And so the flat part of the triangle was down here. And so the pieces like dangled here. And when I was in the church choir at that point in time, it was mostly fine. With the slight issue of the priest was always this way. And so turning my head to look at him with the veil was slightly annoying, but it was still doable. However, as soon as I left the choir and went back to sitting with my kids, it's just a no for me. I don't care how many bobby pins or clips or whatever I put into my hair. It just falls and it gets too far back on my head or too into my eyes, or it gets yanked on and then my hair gets ripped out, and that annoys the bejesus out of me. So I don't veil. I don't think that it's I don't think that it helps me at all. I think it's the opposite of helpful. It's distracting. However, recently I found this veiling, I don't know, Etsy shop or something. Their veils are essentially a headband, and then it's got a wedge of fabric to where you can sort of bunch it all up toward the headband, or you could pull it down so it's more of like a cap. And I might try and scoop up one of those or just make my own, because I do have a veil sitting right outside the store that I bought trying to veil again. It was a smaller veil than the first one I had. I still just can't do it. So who knows? Maybe I'll try and DIY this other veil if I can't scoop up one from this lady. But I don't veil, and I don't think you have to veil, honestly. Of my many, many friends in church, the majority of them don't veil. I mean, if I went to the Vatican or something, I probably would, just out of ultra reverence. But I'm not a, like, you have to veil or you're not a good Catholic person. Not at all. So happy to see this account. I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to see all of you. You speak Spanish? I also speak Spanish, but I'm not that good at it at the moment. I've spoken Spanish my whole life. My tia is here. As I said hi to my tia. She started me on speaking Spanish. And then the first Catholic school I went to was like a very Hispanic Catholic school. And so we started learning Spanish at that school at a really, really young age. And then just continued my Spanish education. For a while, I lived with a Spanish-speaking family. So I think I'm technically, I'm using that word literally, considered fluent, but I wouldn't call myself fluent because I'm horrible with future and past tenses. And I'm also just supremely out of practice right now. I have Duolingo, but I've been not using it because they've been irritating me with their F on Duolingo. So I think I want to switch to Mango. Oh, the holy hot mess mom, Heather, she lives in Madrid now, and she recommended Mango. So I just need to get my butt back in gear and do it. Thanks for the kudos. I just saw that too, was thinking if that was appropriate. I don't remember the context for this, but if you remind me what the context was, then I can comment back on it. Have you ever doubted the church and then rebuked yourself? I think we all have at least some kind of intrusive thought, like from time to time, anything will pop into my mind and I'll be like, but do you really believe that? And I'm like, yes, I really believe that. Like, what? Get out of here, Satan. I think we all get there. You should post things in Spanish. I've thought about it, but honestly, I've had some people take my reels and remix them into like Portuguese and stuff like that. I think that's totally cool. If somebody else wants to take my stuff and redo it in another language, I'm super, super down for that. But it's already so much to make the content I make. I can't imagine doing it again in Spanish. Why don't parents take their kids out of Mass when they are inconsolable? Why are they screaming through the consecration? I'm not that old, but I took my kids out when they were disruptive. I would guess that you are likely a product of your generation. There was a whole generation, in fact, two, really, boomers and Gen X, who have this idea of Mass that's just way, way, way different than what every generation of people before experienced. Children crying in Mass, like, they just cry. It's what they do. I mean, if your child's inconsolable and the Mass is possibly making it worse, then obviously, yeah, you should step out. If it's a particularly silent time of the Mass, like the consecration, where you could be affecting the us as we are here to focus on the Mass, then yes, you should take them out by all means. Or if you're just getting overwhelmed, sometimes we all get overwhelmed, take them out. That's okay. There's no shame in that. There's also no shame in staying in Mass. And there's nothing wrong with a baby who's babbling and babbling and babbling and babbling and babbling, because it's a happy baby noise, I think we're hardwired to be irritated by babies crying because you're supposed to respond to that, right? Like, you're supposed to make babies feel better. But babies babbling, babies giggling, babies talking, some people get irritated at that. And I think that's a personal problem and not a baby problem. But yeah, I don't think that there's ever a hard, like, your kid's gotta go. I think it's really, really individualist to say children shouldn't be in the Mass because they cry sometimes, especially like newborns and moms who are still just trying to figure out breastfeeding with their babies or whatever. The Mass isn't me and Jesus, it's us and Jesus, and us includes children who talk, and us includes babies who cry. So that's my take on that. If the church ain't crying, it's dying. I learned all my prayers in Spanish and taught myself the rosary in English just like a year or so ago. Katie, I also used to say the rosary in Spanish. I don't remember the Apostles' Creed. And ironically, when I was taught the rosary, I was not taught Hail Holy Queen. But Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be, I did in Spanish. And I don't think I remember the Glory Be anymore. But I remember the Our Father and the Hail Mary. And so sometimes I'll say them in Spanish with my kids. Tell me about that tattoo. I've been wanting to get one, but I keep thinking it's wrong. Did you get it before attending church? Often, no judgment, serious questions. So, preface this by saying Catholics are allowed to get tattoos. I appreciate you saying no judgment, but I don't take it personally, and I don't think anybody's really judging, and those who are usually making it really obvious that they are. But yeah, there are like 3 rules about getting tattoos as a Catholic, and one is essentially no graven images. So like the rest in peace my homie tattoos are not cool. Nothing lewd or inappropriate or explicit, so like curse words or naked women or whatever. And then obviously whatever you get should be honoring to God, like pleasing essentially, or at least just not offensive. And so I don't know which tattoo you're talking about. I have 12 stars right here, which is sort of a callback to the Revelation. It's a Marian tattoo. And then I'm guessing you probably mean this one because it's more visible than that one. But this is a semicolon tattoo. If you've heard of the semicolon movement, it's a suicide awareness, anti-suicide movement. The idea is that when you are down and you think about committing suicide, to commit suicide is putting a period on the sentence that is your life. But we don't need to do that. We can just put a semicolon because it makes this part of your life this independent clause, and then the sentence continues on because your life should continue on. And 12 years ago, what is this now? Yep. The end of February will be 11 years, actually, that I lost one of my very best friends to suicide. So all of us, well, not all of us, a lot of us got semicolon tattoos in his honor, and purple is his favorite color, so mine's purple. But yeah, the idea of the tattoo, if you get it on your person, is to either say, I attempted and I, survived and I'm thankful for that, which isn't me, obviously. But it's also a tattoo to say, like, hey, I'm a safe person to talk to. Most people who are struggling with suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation don't feel like they can turn to anybody, because how do you just start a conversation that's like, hey, I'm thinking I want to die? Like, that's jarring for a lot of people. But I put this here in a super, super visible spot because if somebody is feeling like that around me, it will not bother me at all for them to be like, hey, I need help. And so that's why I have it. Semicolons are great. Nobody uses them properly. I'm afraid of outing myself, so I'll keep it vague, but I got super upvoted on Reddit one time because I made a comment about using semicolons properly. I'm a big fan of them. Is your name... My name is Desirae. It's not spelled the way that it was spelled in this comment, but yes, it's Desirae. I want to hear you speak Spanish. Oh no, I've done myself in. Okay. I'll say a little bit of the Our Father. Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre, venga a nosotros tu reino. The end. That's all I'm going to do. Fun fact, Father Mike Schmitz also has a tattoo. Yeah, I remember his video where he was like, I'm thinking about getting a tattoo. And I think he also recommended that if you're thinking about getting a tattoo, to put the tattoo on a t-shirt and then wear the t-shirt underneath all of your clothes every day for a year, which I think is a bit much. But at the same time, I'm somebody who I have multiple tattoos and I'm getting one of them removed. So definitely think long and hard about the tattoos you want to get. And make sure that you really like the design. Because I really liked the tattoo that I got. But I was so excited about getting it that I was like, yeah, this design is great. And then time went on and I was like, I hate this tattoo. So it's way more expensive to get a tattoo removed than to get it put on, also, for the record. Thanks for your pro kid stance. I feel like it is easier to take them to the non-denom church sometimes because they have specific kid stuff. And so... The one has a literal jungle gym. The parish I grew up in had something called children's liturgy. And what it was kids basically sat through the first 5-10 minutes of Mass. And then they were all brought up to the front. And then the priest would bless them and then send them on their way. And then they would go to children's liturgy and not come back until communion. And I went as a kid because I was like, get me out of here, right? But I don't let my kids go. I went to, I don't go to that parish anymore, broadly speaking, but I went last week because they had a really big renovation that they've been talking about doing since I was like 7. So I was like, I'm going to go see it. I'm 30 years old. Like, I want to see what the parish looks like now that it's been fully renovated. And the parish liturgy still has the children's liturgy in there. And so I went and my kids were like, what's going on? Where are those kids doing? Where are they going? And I was like, don't worry about it. You're not going. I'm not a fan. Like, I keep your kids in Mass, like totally keep them in Mass. Like, as another thing, when my kids were very, very little, when I had 2, my husband was super overwhelmed with keeping them in Mass. And I was trying to be more involved, like doing the choir and stuff like that. And so there was a like children's daycare essentially there. And I had thought, okay, for the sake of like peace between my husband and I, maybe let them go there and then it'll be fine, right? It was not fine. All that happened was when we moved away and then we had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old who neither of whom had really sat through Mass in a year at that point. It was so much harder to keep them calm and steady and cool, and we had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. So just all around, it's not a good time. It's not a good choice. Keep them in when they're little. Get them used to it. It makes it so much easier. Now I have 9, 7, 5, 3, and 1, and my younger set are way better behaved in Mass than my older set were when they were younger because they were just not used to it, and the younger set is used to it. Thanks for the feels about losing my friend. It's a sad, lame thing. Think about him all the time. Good Spanish. Thank you. Katie, thank you. It's definitely, I'm not like a gringa speaking Spanish. There are very few Desiraes, and there's so many different spellings. Mine is Desirae, but I think the usual spelling is Desiree. Yours is Desere. There's a lot out there. There are a lot of variety out there, but not a lot of Desiraes. Hi. you missed the news. Okay, so the news is that I was late, 24 minutes late to coming on here. I'm sorry. Because I'm pushing out my email list tomorrow where I will have the ultimate guide to starting your self-catechesis. Basically everything that took me years and years and years and years and years to figure out and to sort of synthesize into a rhythm or a routine in my life. I put it together in a guide, and I'm pushing out my email list tomorrow, and if you sign up, you're going to get it. It's free. You just get the guide, and then you'll also get the follow-up emails that come from me talking about, going deeper into, I guess I should say, about different catechetical content, like that marriage reel that I posted that had such widely varying reactions from people who were Catholic and who were not Catholic and all this stuff. That's probably one of the first emails that's going to go out later, talking just more about that and going deeper into that so that we're all on the same page with something that clearly needs to be talked about or gets talked about a lot. I'm thoroughly enjoying this live. I'm glad. I'm also enjoying this live. This might sound very ridiculous given where we're at right now, but I don't super love being on camera. Like, there's an element of me that's like, I'm 30 years old lip syncing to Kylie Jenner right now. Like, it's weird. But at the same time, this is the world we're in, and this is the evangelization that we have. And so I'm working with the tools that I've got. But going live was something I was very hesitant to do, especially prior to the first one. But the first one went super well, and this one's going super well. And it's just nice to have so many people actually saying things. It's really awkward when people go live and people join, but then no one says a word, and the person's like, so, this is cool. How do I get the email? Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to post, I think, a reel, and the reel should say something in the caption like comment email, and then it'll automatically DM you in your inbox as soon as you comment email. You'll get it. The reason I was late is because I'm still setting this stuff up because I've not used this DMing feature before, so I want to make sure that it's good, it goes over well. And so my plan is to just make the reel, post it, you'll comment it, and then boom, in your inbox. You don't have to do anything for it. Do you have an opinion on the funeral that took place at St. Patrick's Cathedral, the one for the drag queen? I haven't even heard about this, so I can't have an opinion at this point. But, I mean, if I go off of just the notion of a drag queen having a funeral at St. Patrick's, I mean, like, that doesn't bother me. People need funerals. But I'm guessing that it was more than that, and can't comment until I know more. I got married Catholic in a mixed marriage with an evangelical. What advice do you have? So I'm assuming you're saying you're Catholic, but you got married in a mixed marriage with an evangelical. So if you didn't have a sacramental marriage, get your marriage convalidated. That's step one. If you did have a sacramental marriage and you're just living in a marriage where the religion, husband and wife, are not on the same page with religion, there are a lot of people who are in that position. Catholiccaritas is, her whole page is talking about being in a interreligious marriage. Like, that's her entire thing. So go check her out. The things, in fact, I really want to talk/write a lot more about this. So maybe I'll stay up till the crack of dawn writing an email or something about this, because there's so much that goes into giving advice for people who are in interreligious relationships, who are engaged in an interreligious relationship, who are married in an interreligious relationship. Like, I was having this talk with friends probably a month ago, and what I think it boils down to is there's no blanket advice you can give to somebody in that situation. I think the advice differs very, very much depending on where you're at in that journey. And so for somebody, I'm speaking specifically for somebody who's married, I think the very best things you can do are to make sure that you are not constantly trying to convert your spouse. That's going to sow division. At the same time, you should definitely be praying for your spouse and living in a way and praying in a way that hopefully stirs their soul, and draws them into this thing we have with Jesus and this beauty that's here. But it's always ultimately up to them and their choice and their decision. And I mean, it's something you knew when you got married to them, So pray, love them, be with them, have a wonderful, beautiful, lovely marriage with them. Raise your kids Catholic. That's a non-negotiator. If you had your marriage, you got married under the sacrament, you guys both knew that before you got married too. That's really all I can say in any sort of brief sense. Hello to everybody saying hi. What's the page for mixed marriage? It's Catholiccaritas, so Catholic, Caritas, and her name is Marie. She's not super active lately. She recently had a baby, and so I think she's taking a step back because she's taking care of her baby. But she is still here. She'll post every now and then and whatnot. You could also try DMing her. She might be a lot more responsive in her DMs than she's actively posting, if that makes sense. All right. I think I've caught up to all these comments, so I might take a few more minutes on here to see if anything else comes in, and then I'll probably hop off so I can get back on that email. It's literally sitting right here beckoning me to finish the work. I'm really glad that all these people have gone on here. I think we've hovered around 30. I don't know. I haven't been watching the numbers the whole time, but every time I look up, we're in like the 20s, 30s of people, and a lot of people are talking, and I love that. I appreciate that a lot. I like having fun and getting to know people more and all of that stuff. My fave devotional, okay, this might not be en vogue for Catholics, but I'm not a huge devotional chick. I've always done them as seasonal things. So I've done a Blessed is She Lenten devotional thing. And what's it called? There's like a mass journal where it did the whole mass in this journal form. I don't know if you call that a devotional, but the first year that came out, I had gotten one. And I did it, and I liked it. I only stopped because it's really difficult to do with a bajillion kids, and I just keep having them. So maybe I'll go back to the mass journal thing later, but not right now. Book about faith you recommend? That's really broad. How about any of these books that are right next to me right now? I also have an Amazon list, like a storefront, with a bunch of books on it that are all books that I have read and would recommend to anyone. So this one I've read a lot of. I'm not fully finished with it yet. It's all backwards because it's live, but it's called Thomas Aquinas in 50 Pages, The Layman's Quick Guide to Thomism. It's by Dr. Taylor Marshall. I know he's like super contentious. I don't endorse the man, but I like this book. It's essentially like a Thomas Aquinas 101 class. It's everything I would expect to get out of a 101 class from college. This is called The 7 Deadly Sins of Apologetics by Mark Brumley. I am loving this book. You can kind of see I'm like, oh, this is not the best view of it, but there's a bunch of like highlighted spots in here because I mark the heck out of my books. But that's really good. It's making me a better apologist, and I'm not even that far into it yet. Shower of Heavenly Roses, The Stories of the Intercession of St. Therese of Lisieux. This is really good. I also, if you've ever heard me talk about bathroom books, this would be a great bathroom book, a book that you keep in your bathroom, and you just have these brief little bits to read, and then you can put it down and you're done. That's all it is. It's just people's stories about getting flowers and stuff from Saint Therese. And then, okay, I won't recommend these two books yet because I haven't actually cracked them open, and so I don't want to recommend anything that I haven't at least somewhat familiarized myself with, but they're 3 books for you if you like them. And then all of them are on the Amazon storefront that I was talking about. Oh, now I've lost track of where we were at. Okay. New follower, Protestant turned Catholic when I got married. Yay! I'm glad you're here. My favorite sacramental. Call me basic, but I love rosaries. My favorites aren't in this room because I use them, but I have one from Rugged Rosary that was a nativity one. I think it was like not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. I think it was a special thing. I don't know if they still sell it, but the beads look like cranberries. And then the center is like a wreath that's got the nativity scene in it, and it's super, super cute. And then that one rosary that, now that we've said this, I'm super glad you said it because I would have forgotten. But the one rosary that I just got, I'm carrying as, or I have it next to my bed, and that's like when I go to bed at night, I use it to pray my rosary right before bed. So I am, with that, going to keep this in my mind, and I'm going to hop off, and I'm going to go take a picture of that rosary and then tag the shop that I got it from because it's super cute, and it's holding up good quality rosaries. So I'm glad that everybody came here. I'm so happy to talk to you guys. My plan is to do this maybe bi-weekly, and I'll probably alternate between like a Friday night or a Monday night and Saturday morning, because those evenings and mornings are the simplest and the easiest, and it seems like it was the best for all of you guys too. So I'm so glad you came. It was really good to talk to you. Bye, guys.